Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Mother, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning. Thank you, Bobby Carr. Listen, I appreciate you. That was nice of you this morning. Good morning to each and every one of you. Bobby Carr says I look good. Let me tell you, with nothing but the grace of God. Because my hair is still not done. I had to do something with it today. Thank God I have thick hair. So I was able to wet it and make sure that it was curled, right? Good morning, Marguerite. Good morning, Shaquilla, Nakia, Beatrice. Good morning to all of you. Have I got a guest for you today? Listen, the folks are starting to realize that Mornings with Mother is here. Tanisha Henry, who ran for judge, I'm working now to have her on once a month so we can talk about the law. Right? Not just talk about it in an abstract way, but to really get deeply involved. I reached out to her. She responded. I have not responded to her yet, but that is the ultimate goal. The Love Is segment will be tomorrow. We're revamping that too. We'll have Cherie Syfax on, but we'll also have guests on to talk about the things that matter to them in the matters of love, right? So that's really good. Good morning, David Lipscomb. How are you? And so we are here. Good morning, Fee. We're here trying to really navigate and give you all that you need in this time that we're in. So that's where we are. Our guest today is a therapist in the matters of sexual health. What's going on with us as couples, as single people. I'm super duper excited. I've been trying to reach a friend of mine who I think absolutely needs him. And so I'm going to make sure if he does not respond to me via text, I'm going to go to where he works and give him this man's phone number because, Black men in particular are really men, not even just Black men have been dealing with some craziness over the years that they've kept to themselves that are going on in their families. As women, we talk to each other. Girl, Lord Jesus, I can't believe that fool did such and such and such and such. Or, oh my God, I messed up and I've got to figure it out, what's going on. Men don't always have that. And so they choose their work or they choose some other proclivity to make sure that they can make it through to the next day. But what happens when the man is struggling in the relationship with the woman? What happens then, right? They're told to suck it up, do whatever you need to do. And so I really don't know what he and I are going to be particularly talking about because there's so much I want to delve into with him. I am super excited about it. All right. So the news, as always, is depressing. And I try not to get into it, but this morning I'm going to give you a little and I'll talk to all of you. Tonight is Mr. Man's Jam session at the Free Library after watching a documentary. June is Black Music History Month. Right. So he was giving people an offer to win 2 tickets to this thing. It was sold out in 37 minutes. But I think he kept a couple of tickets for himself so that he could give away tickets to people who are deserving. I forgot to tell Denise that we were going to this tonight. My mind went all the way to a Dundee. So if you're going to be there, at the Free Library, enjoy yourselves, y'all. This is the time because it just feels so untenable most days. And for me, it's, when I didn't talk all day yesterday to anybody other than Denise because we chose yesterday to be our FAR day. And so we kind of hung out and talked. But I'm telling you, I spent the morning painting and my husband was looking at me going, Yes, Marguerite, I agree. She says, Mr. Event is going to be fire. He tells you to come dressed as, cool, smooth, Black music history, like you're going to the dance, not to the club, but remember we used to have those basement parties and people would come with their cool gear on and just dance and sweat all night long. Yeah, that's the vibe that I'm getting from him. So if you have tickets for that, please do so. Grateful for all of you to continue joining us. The season 3 of A.LawfulTruth podcast is going to be, it's out. I did the first, the opening segment, the opening salvo of it. And next week, Tuesday, I got to tell you, I need you to buckle up. I have a chief of police that's going to be on. that will discuss what's happening in policing and what does that, how it impacts in particularly black men, in particular black men. And so I cannot wait for you all to listen to this. I need you all to give us some feedback on what your thoughts are around all of it, and we'll move on from there. Let me do a little bit of news, and then we'll wait for our guests. Why is it that I see Sean Combs as the first thing? According to Eddie Garcia's testimony, so a hotel security guard testifies that Combs paid $100,000 for a attack video. Cassie Ventura, he testified that he was provided with an address that was 20 minutes from the hotel. So Eddie Garcia told Sean Combs, "I had it," referring to the Intercontinental Hotel security camera video footage of Combs' 2016 attack on Cassie Ventura. He testified that he was provided with an address that was 20 minutes from the hotel. He wanted the video as soon as possible, Garcia told the court. Garcia testified that someone who introduced himself as Combs' bodyguard met him in the lobby of a building and brought him up to an apartment where he told the court Combs was smiling, excited, and looking happy. In total, at the end, it was $100,000, Garcia told the court. Garcia testified Combs asked him if he wanted to count the money, and he responded, "I said I trusted the machine." According to Garcia's testimony, Combs and a bodyguard accompanied him out of the suite and walked him to the valet where his car was parked. He asked me how I would spend the money, and I said I didn't know, Garcia testified. He said not to make any big purchases. Garcia testified that later he noticed that neither the incident report nor the video file attached to it were in the hotel records. So this was some 6ABC.com live updates of the Diddy trial. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka is suing interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey Alina Habba over his arrest by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents last month outside Delaney Hall. The lawsuit accuses Habba of defamation and seeks damages for what it calls false arrest and malicious prosecution. The suit also named Ricky Patel, the Homeland Security Investigations agent in charge in Newark. She said he willingly chose to disregard the law, which is false. And later on that night, she went on Fox and again made false statements. Baraka's attorney, Nancy Erica Smith, announced on Tuesday, "I just want to say this is not about revenge or not about me going after individuals because I think they wronged me specifically. Ultimately, I think this is about them taking accountability for what happened to me," Baraka said. Baraka is also running for governor of New Jersey. So it should be interesting. And I think more than anything else, they just propelled him in the news, and the people are going to come out and vote for him. So I'm not sure if it worked out well for the folks who arrested him, but we will see. This was CBSNews.com. Today, I need you, if you're going outside, to wear masks, and this is why. Smoke from the Canadian wildfires will be visible in the Philadelphia region today, but no major impacts on air quality are expected. Over 100 out-of-control fires are burning across Canada, in particular the provinces of British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, which sits in the north of Midwest and mountain states, including Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota. The Canadian Interagency Fire Center said there are 10 new fires as of Tuesday morning. In the U.S., smoke has particularly impacted air quality in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, an air quality alert was in effect for forecasted unhealthy air, while other parts of the state air quality was predicted to reach the hazardous level. I don't see, and they're talking about the UV levels is at 10. So if you burn easily, and Black people, I know you all like to think that we don't get sunburned, but we do. And so with the UV quality at 10, please make sure you're wearing sunscreen on your face, on your arms, anywhere that is exposed today, especially if you're going up to the Free Library this afternoon. Hear what I'm telling you, because we do burn. And someone wrote a piece on social media the other day that said, you would not believe the amount of Black people who are diagnosed with skin cancer in the dermatologist's office because they believe that they don't burn. And so do with this as you may. I have a sunscreen that also serves as a base for my face before I put any makeup on. So that's what I'm going to wear today. And if I can remember the name of it, because it's a Black young man made this sunscreen specifically for Black people, and it's clear. So it's beautiful. So that's what I'll be wearing. If you all want to see it, I will bring it with me this evening so you can see it. The White House on Tuesday sent a formal request to Congress to claw back funding for NPR, National Public Radio, PBS, Public Broadcasting Station, and international aid that lawmakers had previously approved. The package would cancel $9.4 billion appropriated by Congress, aiming to make permanent some of the Department of Government Efficiency spending cuts. It focuses on slashing foreign aid, along with major public broadcasting entities, including NPR and PBS. The $9.4 billion rescissions package includes $1.1 billion in cuts for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which provides funding to NPR, and PBS. In April, the White House released a statement saying taxpayers have funded the two entities for too long and say they've spread radical woke propaganda disguised as news. PBS received $329 million in CPB funding this year. This again was written by CBS News, local CBS News. Hold on, let me grab my cup. Del Frisco's Grill in Center City to close this summer after 7 years. As the ground floor restaurant at the Cambria Hotel Philadelphia in Center City, a layoff notice posted by the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry said 51 employees at the restaurant will be affected by the closure. The restaurant's lease is expiring and will not be renewed, a manager confirmed Tuesday, and Del Frisco's Grill will close at the end of July or early August. That's right across from, and it's skipping my mind now. We'll talk about it later. Del Frisco's Grill opened in December 2018 as a more casual counterpart to the nearby Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse, which has occupied the ground floor of the First Pennsylvania Bank building at 15th and Chestnut Streets since 2008. This was written by Philly Voice. Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker kicked off National Gun Violence Awareness Month by honoring members of a joint task force that has helped to reduce shootings in the city. Tuesday's news conference honored the work done by the Joint Warrant Apprehension Task Force, responsible for over 700 enforcement actions in 2024. The actions ranged from arrests to seizures of guns and ill-gained money. Created by the Office of Safe Neighborhoods in 2019, this 60-member task force includes agents from the Sheriff's Office, the Philadelphia Police Department, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, and other governmental entities. Those involved received plaques from Parker to recognize their service and achievement. This was written by the Philly Tribune. Out of Washington, D.C. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. ruled Tuesday that the Federal Bureau of Prisons must continue providing hormone therapy and social accommodations to transgender inmates while they pursue a legal challenge to President Trump's executive order that sought to restrict access to the treatments. U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth granted a request for a preliminary injunction sought by 3 transgender inmates who have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria and were provided with hormone therapy and certain lifestyle accommodations, such as clothing and hair removal devices, during their incarceration. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be fussing about that. Yes, Winetta, thank you for purchasing your subscription to the A.Lawful Truth podcast on Substack. I saw that. I really appreciate you. Good morning, Deborah Ann Henderson Scott. Good morning, David Bobby Carr. I did. I saw that popping up as I was painting yesterday, and I was like, oh, look at that. Thank you. I never take any of these subscriptions for granted, so I do really appreciate you. A dragon boat capsized in the Schuylkill River, prompting marine rescue. A dozen rowers fell into the Schuylkill River early Tuesday morning after their dragon boat capsized. The incident occurred at 4900 Ridge Avenue near Kelly Drive, though miles away from Boathouse Row. Police sent its marine unit to the scene in East Falls around 6:30 a.m. All of the passengers aboard the dragon boat, a long racing vessel that often features a decorative dragon head at the bow, were rescued. Medics sent one person to Temple University Hospital, and the cause of the incident remains unclear. They could not share any further updates, the police said, from the investigation as of Tuesday afternoon, including the condition of the hospitalized passenger. Now, Pastor Jamal Bryant put out an edict that there are over 20,000 Dollar Generals in this country. And there's one within 5 miles of every community. And he's asking for us to boycott the chain. Here's the problem. While we're fussing about this and that, the economy is still, people are still not able to pay, and so this is what's happening. Middle class and wealthier Americans are heading to Dollar General. That's benefiting the company, but it could be a warning sign for the wider one. Dollar General said on Tuesday that sales at stores open for at least a year and increased 2.4% last quarter. They're thinking that the economy is so bad that folks are just going right. Days after attacking a mega bill that advances President Donald Trump's legislative agenda, Elon Musk slammed it again on Tuesday, calling it a disgusting abomination in a post on X. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill, after it had the Department of Government Efficiency, right? Is a disgusting abomination, Musk wrote of the House-passed bill. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Musk followed up with another post claiming the bill will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. Yeah, well, the children are fighting. That's all I have for that one. We're going to work that one out. Let me let my guest in because I see him. And I just want to make sure that you all are able to talk to him. Whoo! Let me in. Good morning, Dr. John Taylor. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning. How are you?
I am so good when I tell you. When I tell you I have been looking forward to this conversation, I got a tear in my eye.
Oh my goodness.
I have been talking about you for months, right? I have this segment called the Love Is segment, and we were having a discussion about, I'm glad you came on early too, because there's so much I want to talk to you about. We were having a discussion about our sexual health in our relationships and men not being able to perform, women losing interest, vaginal dryness, menopause, all of that. Yeah. And then I ran into some officers who were just really struggling. I'm still trying to get that man to you. I'm still trying to convince him to get to you. Yeah. And then I am at the Chestnut Hill Bar and Grill, and you walked up. I didn't even realize it was you. I said, "Look at God in the firmaments." And I was like, please, I really do need to talk to you. So let me introduce you to the people, because they just need to hear who you are. All right. Dr. John Taylor is an assistant professor, author, Christian therapist, licensed professional counselor, media personality, and sexuality educator in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His book, Pocket Guide for Young Men Without Fathers, Important Life Lessons, was published in January 2018. Dr. Taylor is also the host of the Spotify podcast, My Mortality Matters, The Voices and Lives of Black Men. He's an assistant professor at the South University Department of Urban Public Health and Nutrition. Listen, I'm not going any further because I want to introduce you to this man. To this man. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Mo.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Before we get into anything else, talk to me about this book, My Mortality Matters.
So the podcast is My Mortality Matters.
Okay, let's talk.
And that came out of my research, my dissertation research I did on Black men and structural violence, and how structural violence, which is police violence and racism discrimination, impacts the mental health and sexual behavior of Black men ages 18 to 25.
Really?
Yeah. So what I learned in that study was a lot of Black men, and I integrated two theoretical frameworks, minority stress theory and terror management theory. And terror management theory looks at the fact that people have mortality salience, the inevitable fear of death. And so in the rise of George Floyd and all the Black violence against Black men in the country, a lot of Black men were feeling, am I the next guy to be murdered? And so the study came out during that time frame of George Floyd. So I did a podcast interviewing Black men around the country about their experiences as Black men in America, looking at racial discrimination, and also who their sexual partners are and who their sexual partners aren't because of racism and discrimination. And what I found interesting,
You know, I'm about to ask you.
what I found was that I did 20 men, 10 heterosexual men, then 10 men who have sex with men. And what I found with the men who have sex with women, those men indicated, some of those men indicated because of racial discrimination, they did not have sex with white women because they felt white women had power and they could say, well, he sexually assaulted me and therefore she is believed. And so a lot of these guys began to record their partners giving them consent to have sex with them before, during, and after.
The front door.
Yes.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. So
Black men were feeling that vulnerable?
Yeah. So they recorded her giving consent before, during, and after. Also, they would text their friends that, hey, she's going to meet me here at this place at this time, and I'll text you when I leave. And so, yeah. Wow. It's quite interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're dating white women with more caution and making sure that they get consent just in case they end up in court.
Yes.
Why date them at all then if they're feeling that vulnerable?
Well, so some of the guys indicate just curiosity, right? Curiosity about, just about how is it going to be having sex with a white woman? Just some of those stereotype things we hear about, the freedom, all those things and sexual expression they may have. So yeah, they won't just experience it, but experience it with caution. Because one guy gave a quick story about his experience in high school where some of his friends, this young lady came over to their house, 3 guys, and she gave them all oral sex. The next day she told her friends they have forced her to have sex with them. But luckily, or one of the guys recorded her giving consent. Wow. And so they had called the police to campus to arrest these young men. But when the police came, they showed the video they had.
Wow.
And they were able to be set free. So a lot of precautions, vulnerability, but the fact of, curiosity. And
did you tell them curiosity killed the cat? They just got lucky.
I did.
Oh my goodness. That is just, that's a lot. All right. So let's talk about the services that you offer and then give me some common issues couples come in contact with in their relationships and how you believe they should go about resolving them.
Okay. So I'm a mental health therapist. I counsel individuals, families, and couples. And so individual couples counseling where it goes from children, ages usually from like 10 to whenever. And most of my clients are Black men in their relationships. I do virtual and in-person sessions Monday through Friday. Couples are coming into therapy, and I work with individuals who are same-sex couples, heterosexual couples who are couples, trouples, whatever people have.
Trouples? Did you say trouples?
Trouples, yes. People who
what
are
is a trouble?
3 people in a relationship or non-monogamous relationships, open relationships. I counsel all relationships are welcome in my practice.
Okay. Right.
So some things couples are bringing into the therapy room are things around social media, trust, infidelity, sexual incompatibility with their partners. Also the idea of blended families and those types of things are coming in. So something I talk about with couples around, let's say sexual incompatibility is like really, because we know as you may age or something, your sexual energy, desire does like slow down. So talk to your partner about what your desires are. Are you getting your needs met in the relationship? Also, are you comfortable asking for what you want? We know women sometimes are taught early on to not ask for sex. I'm not talking about what their sexual desires and needs are.
Right.
A lot of women are feeling at times in relationships unfulfilled. And so
do they talk about it, or that's why they end up with you? Because you're not talking about it.
They're not talking about it. Right. Wow. And so they feel uncomfortable telling their partner what they want. They may want oral sex. So, just different variety of things at times. And so getting people to talk more about that more openly is important. Also, I find With men, we have a lot of issues of erectile dysfunction
Can
among,
we discuss? Can we discuss Dr. Taylor? And it's
yeah,
not just at 60 and 70, it's 30s and 40s.
there are a lot of young men who have erectile dysfunction. And I believe is around because of three different things.
Okay.
One, I think people have begun to believe this idea of, are you familiar with honey packs that folks can
Dr.
buy?
Taylor, I'm learning all kinds of things from you this morning. I learned about truffles and now I'm learning about honey packs. Okay. So, what is a honey pack?
You can buy these things at like convenience stores. These honey packs people are taking and because honey does help with erections. Like
Okay.
you can put it in your smoothie in the morning time, and it will help you have a good erection. But
Hmm.
a lot of people are taking that when they don't really need it as young men to
Okay.
perform longer. Um, Also, people have because of some of the performance anxiety. A lot of
Okay.
people are experiencing because we have
Okay.
this idea that if you are a male, you have to know how to have sex.
Okay.
You never get a learning curve.
Okay.
Either you come in knowing or you are embarrassed in some
But
capacity.
nobody comes in knowing how to have sex,
But
how to
men
have
don't get
intercourse.
right. But men don't get that privilege in most cases
Really?
because a lot of them believe you have sex with me, you got to perform. So a lot of guys have performance anxiety. Am I going to be the next guy, to make her feel this way? And so that anxiety can persist. So if you have an experience and you may have a erectile issue in this experience here,
Hmm.
you try to have sex again because you thought about that from the last experience. Because again, everything goes together. This head impacts
Right.
the other
Right.
one. And so
Right.
if you're thinking about that, you may find yourself having erectile dysfunction issues. Then
Right.
also just some of the mortality issues that Black men feel, the fear, the am I going to be next, the trauma, the gun violence in our community, the mental health, depression impacts a man's erection as well.
This is why I waited so long to talk. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because today, talking to you, I'm learning. Now, the honey packs. I
Yes.
remember going to the gas station to get some gas, and I saw a pack of pills that you
Yeah, so
take.
that's also part of it as well. Those pills from the
And
gas.
then there was this other thing that was in a container. I remember taking a picture of it and saying to my friend who was with me, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
Right? Because I couldn't understand it.
yeah.
How does the honey packs impact them though over time? Does it impact them immediately or over time?
It's more like immediately. It does. People have said it does help them have erections, but the
Right?
issue with that is if you begin to rely on a source for your erection and you can't find that source, then in some way the placebo effect happens. And so you're not performing because you don't have your pill or you don't have your pack. So I'm telling young men, you don't need that. If you have any erectile issues, go to see your doctor, go to a
Right.
urologist. Because some men may have low testosterone,
Right.
and having your testosterone levels checked could
Right.
indicate what's happening here with your erection as well. So a lot of factors could be playing into that. But
Right.
like those gas station pills you saw, people also are taking those as well, and you don't need those. You
Yes.
don't really. Yeah, it does.
So
It does. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
for those of you who are in relationships, men, leave the gas station stuff alone. Please, just leave it alone. It's going to cause you more issues than is necessary. We women, and correct me, women, if I am wrong, as you're listening to us have this conversation, we women thought the erectile dysfunction was coming from diabetes, hypertension, and not them taking these honey packs and all this other stuff that's going on with them.
But it can be true. It can be those things as well.
Okay.
We know certain medications for hypertension can cause erectile dysfunction, diabetes. Because also, if you are a diabetic and you haven't, if your levels are low, and
Hmm.
you can have erectile dysfunction during your sexual experience. About a lot of
Hmm.
men when they have sex who are
Yeah.
diabetics, yeah, who have diabetes. I'm sorry,
Yes.
will go and check their levels first before they have sex, just to make sure they need to get some more orange juice. They
Insulin.
to eat
What?
just to make sure they can perform. Because if you know you're a diabetic and you haven't checked yourself, then maybe you may have a issue. So they are checking prior to having sex what their levels are. Yeah.
Marguerite says, "This is so good. My husband and I saw a white female sex therapist. It was the worst, disheartening, traumatic experience of my life. Wish I knew about Dr. Taylor at that time. Listen, Marvel will find the people and bring them to you. Because
Oh man,
Dr. Taylor, I'm telling you, I've been hearing about you for a while, but I wanted them to experience you so that your phone's going to ring. I'm just letting you know.
because I think one of the reasons I became a therapist, I have a degree in my master's degree. One of my master's degrees, I have two masters and a PhD. One of my master's degree is in Christian counseling. I'm a Christian therapist, integrated theology and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And I became that because I saw a lot of Black people who were not coming to therapy. And when I started practicing, a lot of people were coming in dealing with sexual issues in the church and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to get a degree in sexual education. So I got a master's and PhD in sexual education, so I could be more prepared for who came to the office. So that's why I'm here.
Wow. Do you see more church folk than ever now as a direct result of what's been going on?
I wouldn't say more, no. I mean,
No.
just the same amount, basically. I think people are becoming more aware of what's happening in their lives and more hope of talking about it and realizing that you don't have to, this thing of like, what happens here stays here.
Yes.
Is really beginning to like dissipate in our community, because I think it's kept us hostage for so long to trauma in our families, also in our minds and in our behaviors and our relationships. We choose to love based on our trauma as well. So I think people are really realizing I can be better, I can be free from these things and come to therapy more. So we're seeing a lot of people coming to therapy now, which is great.
There's so many questions I have in my head to ask you. So many. One of them is around blended families.
Yes.
But let me start here. What are women complaining about in terms of their issues with sexuality and in their relationships? What are their major top issues? We talked about the men. What are the top issues for the women?
One thing women are talking about sometimes is like vaginal dryness is one.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor.
Yeah.
And we, so I began openly talking about it a couple of years ago on a radio show, and people are looking at me like, no, she didn't. But yes, I did. Yes. Because my friends and I are having these conversations. It is the most painful intercourse anybody could absolutely have. And we have to explain to our mates that it's not you, right? But that this is the issue that we're having. And we were just talking, the friend and I were just talking about this yesterday, about the having to use the gels and all these other things which doesn't lead to spontaneity. And doctors prescribing estrogen filled whatever, you know, and we're like, well, we can get cancer. They're telling, oh, you keep taking it for 4 years and then you have to worry about cancer. What?
Yeah. But a lot of that happens, people having that, during being menopausal also in vaginal dryness. Also, sometimes people are just not able to lubricate, self-lubricate, right?
Yes.
So I think it's important to figure out from your OBGYN. I encourage all women, and I even start in young women, 18 or so, they have an OBGYN you go see regularly to check out all your parts, I say, because what's going on there, right? And also we know that sometimes if you're on a particular contraceptive, that also can increase vaginal dryness as well. So being able to be informed about what you're taking before you take it. And also there are some lubes that do help with vaginal dryness. And so being able to encourage your partner to use lubrication.
Right.
We're also seeing a lot of issues around painful sexual intercourse, which is because of fibroids. We know that one out of 6 African-American women do have fibroids.
Yes.
Resulting in them having to have surgery or have hysterectomies.
Yes.
Because of that. And having fibroids just create more very painful sexual experience. So a lot of issues around that. Also just not being pleasured properly. Because women sometimes are uncomfortable looking at their vaginas, touching themselves. They don't know what pleasures them. So being able to do more self-exploration with your body, to know what moves you, what brings you pleasure is important. So you can inform your partner, hey, I don't like when you do X, do this instead. Like, I think sex should be kind of a roadmap of what your pleasure principles zones are.
How can they have that conversation without offending their mates, though? That's the question.
It is going to be about tone, right? It's going to be about leading with love, leading with empathy. But also, if your partner is with you, their goal should be also to please you as well, not just getting themselves off, right? So you can say, hey, and I think sometimes doing it in the moment can be more, either doing it in the
Mhm.
moment or afterwards or before. Say,
Or
hey,
before, yes. Mhm.
I like it when you do X. I don't like
Mhm.
people who do this to me. I'd rather you do X to me.
Mhm.
So getting, in some ways, having a plan
Mhm.
for your sex before you have sex. Like
Mhm.
talk about what your pleasure zones are, things
Mhm.
you don't want done to you,
Yeah.
things you don't want to participate
Right. This is
in.
so enlightening because we often don't have these conversations publicly. Now, watch my inbox light up today. Marva, this is going on and that because I'm telling you, and which is why I openly and transparently began having the dialogue. And people were like, "Oh my God, why is she?" Because we don't, and
Right.
we feel like, particularly in our Black community, we just should not discuss these things publicly or privately. And there's this shame, this stigma
Yeah.
of shame that
Yeah.
is so unnatural and unhealthy because it
Right.
ruins so many relationships when a good, gentle conversation could
Yeah.
make the difference.
Yeah. And being able to, if you love someone, being able to talk about these things, right? Ask these
Yeah.
questions. We ask all the other stuff around a
Yes.
person, like where's your family from? Who would you know? Talk about
Right.
what you like and don't like in the bedroom.
Yes. Absolutely.
Kind
I
of
hope y'all are,
normalize
yeah, I
things.
hope y'all are paying attention. If you have any questions, ask now or forever hold your peace. Now, you work with all types of couples, thruples, same-sex couples, all of that.
Yes.
Have you ever run into, and I have to ask you this because particularly, I mean, I live in this area, so I'm going to say the Philadelphia area. I've
Mhm.
had conversations with so many gay men who said married men tried to pick them up
Mhm.
in their inboxes.
Mhm.
Why is there such a discomfort for us as for people who want to have a relationship with same-sex couples to actually do that in their lives versus
Mhm.
getting married and then upending their whole livelihood?
Okay, we're going there today.
Oh, we're going there today. Oh. Yes, yes, we're going there. Oh, did they tell you about Marvel? We're
This is
going there
great.
today, Doctor,
This
because
is
we have
great.
to ask.
This is great. Yeah, because I think one of the things we do realize, right? So I'll start here. We do find in the black community before is a lot better now.
Mhm,
Sexuality, being gay, bi,
mhm,
was more like a stigma, right? Well, we're finding people now being more open about their sexuality, which is great. And we do find that there are some men who, because of being uncomfortable, um, being afraid of being themselves, or because of all the things that could happen to them, are maybe getting married, right? And maybe are, yes, entering people's sex boxes and asking for sex through DMs
mhm,
and all these
mhm.
things. And one of the things around it is because people are sometimes uncomfortable with themselves to do that. It's also recognized to know if you're familiar with the Kinsey scale, the Kinsey scale around sexuality,
Yes,
recognizing sexuality is on a continuum, meaning it can
yes.
be fluid, right? And
Mhm, mhm,
over time, a person can, find their sexuality over time as well. And
mhm.
so we don't want to say people who are married and now are having sex with men are just all of a sudden doing this. Is maybe having part of their journey or they find themselves
Mhm.
throughout the cycle. So we can't generalize. I'd say
Right,
we can't generalize people as to why they're doing things. It's important to do
right.
an individual conversation with that person to figure out what's happening here that you are now into this space, right? Because sexuality is fluid, but there has been some stigma around that for people, and they have
Yeah.
sometimes feel comfortable, being their true selves.
I one of the things I pray about is that when people are entering relationships, they say, as my husband and I, before but at our very first conversation, he was like, let's talk, right?
Yeah.
And I want people to have conversations that says, you know, I am this or I am that, or I have these proclivities, or I feel like I should have do, you know what I mean? Before you get into the relationship. Now, that was not the conversation my husband and I had, but
Mhm.
it was really, and I did ask him, I said, have you had sex with men? Do you have, and people, when I was telling them, they were like, wait, you asked that question? Well, if you don't ask the question, how do you not know? Right?
No,
And then,
absolutely.
and the same question was asked of me. Are you someone who will sleep with women? We talked about it. This is when I knew we were designed for each other because oftentimes we put on this facade of what we want the other person. This was grown folk conversation.
Mhm.
And so I want men and women to feel comfortable saying, all right, tell me a little bit about your past. If you feel
Yes.
comfortable having the conversation. But you have to know that it's someone you want to be in a relationship with. Don't do it with Lottie Dottie and everybody, because that
Right.
can cause issues too.
That's
Right?
true. So knowing your partner's sexual history, but it's also important too. I think it's important to say this too. Like, if you're meeting someone, right, and you're not sure where this is going to go, right, and you are kind of worried, if I tell her or him
Mhm.
this about my sexual past, and this doesn't work out, are they going to like blast me or tell other people about my business, right? And so sometimes, also, that's the fear of like exposure
Mhm.
is hindering people from really being their true selves as well. Because I don't know
Mhm.
what you think of this information. So I think people who like share what's been told to them in a relationship in secrecy should not then blast it in public.
Yes.
That's very disrespectful. But a lot of
Yeah.
people do that, and people are uncomfortable just sharing their true selves because of that reason. So,
We need to be better human beings, truthfully.
yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
We
I say
do.
that every day.
Yeah, yeah. We just
Yeah,
need to be better human beings,
yeah,
because that thing that we mete out and we measure it out to people out of ignorance and being hateful and spiteful comes back when you least expect it. And I
hmm
tell folks this all the time: to be careful what you say and do, because it will come back to greet you when you least expect it. Let's this is such a good comment. Oh, it's 7-Eleven. My God. Let's talk about blended families. What are you
Yes,
experiencing around blended families?
I'm experiencing a lot of people who are just having difficulty because it is around like, how do we bring out my kids, your kids, our exes, our kids' parents together, right?
Mhm.
Because there is this issue sometimes of jealousy of the parent who's not there, right? So if you marry a woman or a man, and then they have kids, and then the partner of the person who has children wants to be involved in the life, the person who's now married to this person can feel uncomfortable with this person being involved. But I do say, to keep that simple, is like all kids need all their parents involved. And so, how can the parents of the kids make it less about themselves and more about the children?
Preach, preach, Dr. Taylor,
Right.
preach,
And that
preach.
does require honest, adult, transparent, vulnerable conversations.
Yes,
It's about the
yes,
kids, not about what you did to me when we were together. We're not together now. So we ain't talking about that no more. Can we talk about what the kids need? And also getting the kids, I think if the kids are able to respect the person their parent has chose, if the parent of the child was showed him, hey, your mom married Joe. I respect Joe. You can respect Joe as well. I think kids should leave from their parents, their
mhm,
biological, their biological parent, of how they treat the parent their parent now is married to. But it
yeah.
is about the adults in the room making those conversations for the kids as well.
And the adults in the room walking around with a sense of responsibility, because to your point, it's always about the children, always
Yeah.
about the children. And you can tell that there's some insecurity when you get into a marriage with someone who already has children, and then you say to them, I don't want your children to be around because I don't want to see their mother, or you spend more time with your children than you do with me. Hello, newsflash, the children are always the priority. The
Yeah.
adults want to get themselves together to figure out how they navigate around it.
hmm
So I've been married before, and my oldest son had his college graduation, and I took my friend Denise with me to his graduation party.
hmm
My current husband and I just started dating. We'd been about 4 or 5 months into the thing, and she gets to the house and she sees me, his current wife, the other ex-wife, and we're all in there with all the children just laughing. She said, "My God, I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's like the Sister Wives Club." And I
Wow.
looked at her and I said, it's about the children. The children are incredibly close. The children love all their mothers, love all
Mhm.
their fathers. And
Yeah.
I have grandchildren now. And my ex-husband comes to the events. My current husband is there. They're
Mhm.
working together, putting the stuff together. And people marvel at that. And I said, that is maturity. That is
Right.
growing up. That is about the children.
Right.
And so I'm very concerned when people walk into a relationship and then say, "Oh, I don't like their children," or "I don't like when the ex-wife comes." Well, when you have children, those people are always a part of your life,
Yes.
always.
Yeah. And I would say kudos to you
Oh
for
yeah, I
creating
don't
that
play them
environment in
games.
your
I don't
life,
play those games. Taylor.
'Cause
I
I think
have
it is, yeah,
well-raised children as a direct result of making sure that dad was always engaged and involved.
yeah. I think it's always important that in Bennett families, all the families are communicating together and are seen together.
Yes. Yes.
Kids have to
Important.
see their parents interact when they're not together. It does
Absolutely.
help with them, and also like communication for their own self, communication skills for
Yes.
themselves,
Yeah.
living through difficult times for themselves. So
Yes.
it's important for kids to see all those things happening with
Yeah.
adults being adults.
Yeah. Marguerite, I'm way ahead of you. Dr. Taylor, I'd like you to be a guest on my season 4 podcast. I'd like to. We need to go more in depth because we're on live right now, and
Right, okay.
folk get a little. So I just want to make sure. And they're saying that you should be a regular guest on here. I can't do that to Dr. Taylor. He has to give permission. We gotta because you're speaking truth in a way that we don't often hear, which is why it was so important for me to have you on this show. Tell people how they can reach you. Here comes the fun part because I'm writing this
Okay.
down too.
All right. Here's the fun part. You can find me. My website is drjohngtaylor.com. All the information is there, how to contact me. My phone number is 215-432-7383. Email address is John, John, G Taylor 06 at Gmail.
Taylor06 at. All right, let me repeat this. drjohngtaylor.com, because somebody's going to ask. The phone number is 215-432-7383. And the email address is johngtaylor06 at gmail.com. I know quite a few people that I constantly hear, can I find a Black male therapist? I constantly hear it. And so I'm so grateful for you in this moment because the folks are going to call. They're going to call and they're going to ask. And this will be played over and over again. So folks will be able to reach out to you. Now, let me ask you, what is your story? What made you decide to become a therapist?
So long story short, I started my career in 1990 as a prison guard. And so I worked 23 years in law enforcement, prison guard, probation officer, domestic violence officer. During that time, I saw a lot of people in prison, in jail. And I was like, what can we do differently to meet them before they get here? And so then I went to seminary, got my degree from there, and realized I could do more work in my life. This is my purpose, I believe. I'm letting people find their truth. And so through my degrees, so that's how I ended up here today, recognizing that people can have conversations about their life before they get to a difficult situation, and reaching them before then is important to me.
But what was the catalyst? Let me tell you why. You had a whole other career for 23 years.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made you decide I'm going back to school to do this other career?
So it had to be, I think I had a client, and I did a lot of work around domestic violence as well. I had a case where this lady, this guy had knocked her out of a car and drug her down the street. And she was like, this whole side of her body was like, the skin was off. She came into the office. She was like, this happened to me, but I know he loves me. And I'm like, this has got to stop. So I prayed about what to do next. And this is where I am.
This is where you are. Well, we are grateful for you. We are incredibly grateful for you. Your name precedes you. I never see you on social media talking a bunch of yin yang. You don't do that. You're actually doing your work. Reason one why I wanted to talk to you, right? Because people who are working don't have time to do the craziness.
I realize some people, I don't post on social media a lot. I mean, it's not my avenue. I am on social media because I think I have to be. I don't do a lot of posting because I'm really about like, what am I doing with my time?
Yeah. When I post, I talk about family things. I talk about my husband, the things that because there is always someone saying Black folks don't get married. Black folks can't get degrees. Black folk, there's so many things that they say we can and cannot do, right? And so my goal was around education, showing that the family structure can be strong. And when it isn't, there are ways through and around it so that we can be healthy people moving forward. And so I am incredibly grateful for you. So there was that. And then, y'all, if you ever meet him in person, the snazziest dresser. Jesus wept. That's awesome. I didn't even know you were Dr. John Taylor. I said, sir, realized who I was talking to.
Yeah. I tell you, my dad, that comes from my dad. My dad is
Yeah.
an amazing, I have 4 brothers and sisters. My dad always told us, when you leave the house going somewhere. Also, dress like you're going somewhere with a partner.
Yes.
So we all my brothers and dad, we all dress the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, kudos to your father. Okay.
yeah.
Kudos.
I'll let him know.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. John Taylor. It is 215-432-7383, drjohngtaylor.com, johngtaylor06@gmail. He counsels all kinds of couples, same sex, thruples, all kinds of
Heterosexual, non-monogamous relationships,
all
open
the
relationships,
people.
all people are welcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Trans
love it.
couples, yeah, all the people.
You know what? We do need to bring you back because we got to talk about the non-monogamous and all the things, because there are people
Yeah.
in the relationships that don't want to be monogamous.
Right.
And, how do they manage when the person in the relationship with them was like, yeah, no, that's not what I came into the relationship with. I
Right.
need to be monogamous. Oh, we will discuss. We will.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to I have someone reach out to you about the podcast because I really do think this is a great episode to have. Dr.
Okay.
John Taylor, thank you so much. Thank you for waking up this early in the morning to have the conversation with us. Thank you for being transparent and open and honest about what matters in our relationships. And my God, may your cup overflow with blessings because of this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. That was so good. That was so good. I'm trying to wait for you to log off, Dr. Taylor. Can you figure it out?
Okay, yeah, I'm on the button here. I'm sorry, I'm leaving. All right, thank you. Have a good day. All right.
Bye-bye. You're bye-bye.
I'm leaving now.
Bye-bye. Yo. Black Jesus. Yes, y'all been wondering why I say Black Jesus, Hair like lamb's wool, feet like bronze clay, wings that mount up and fly. There's another story for another time. That was so good. These are the conversations that I want to have, topics that matter to people. I'll go somewhere with my husband and I'll say, yeah, that marriage is in trouble. He'll go, how the hell do you know? Body language speaks. It does. It does. It does. It does. Folks will get married, know that there's a child or children in the relationship, and they play the part because they want to get married. They get into marriage and they're like, they too hoity-toity for me. I don't like your mama. I don't like the child. I don't like and we do all of these things privately and then wonder why we struggle so much, or we sit in relationships that are so diggity dang unhealthy in so many ways. And we're going, So what did you all think? Tell me what you thought. Because I am like, woo, that was good. That was good. Laura, listen, I am going to interview him for the podcast for season 4. And I am going to invite him to come back here to have conversation because there's a lot. Can he speak to the Brian McKnight situation? Brian McKnight is who he is. One of his sons just died. And I don't know. I believe, and I mean, just from the outside looking in, and I am not a therapist, Brian McKnight is fighting with some stuff that is going on in his life when he was a child. It's the only reason I can't imagine that anyone would abandon their children for a whole new marriage, but it happens all the time. People are in a marriage, they leave the marriage, they abandon the marriage and the children, right? And so I'm going to caution us as we're reading things on social media and having opinions. We have to be very careful because we still don't know the entire story. Nobody knows the entire story of what folks are going through. We only see what folks allow us to see, or we only see what's been exposed. We don't know. This is why I think social media sometimes is a hellhole, right? We have to be very mindful and choose what we focus on. So I'm going to ask him about the Brian McKnight situation. Marguerite says, when I was young, dumb, and stupid, I was annoyed when a date was canceled because of parent responsibilities. Now that I am older, if you don't spend time with your child, that is a red flag. Absolutely. If you want to spend time with my children, but you haven't seen your children since Jesus was a boy, you can't spend time with me. I had to clock someone about that that belonged to a major fraternity and was taking care of everybody's children and hadn't seen his own child in God knows how long. A mess, a whole mess. So, ask those questions. Alexandra says, Dr. Taylor as an explorer 2011, please come once a month. We see the snazziness from the list, and Marguerite, I'm trying to tell you, I was just sitting there going, and she says, excellent commentary. For those of you who are just joining us, I had a therapist on by the name of Dr. John Taylor, who is a couples therapist around sexual health, around same-sex, monogamous, non-monogamous, thruples. I didn't know thruples existed. Like there are three people in a relationship. Who knew Black Jesus? And so it is easy for me to have these conversations because I put on a lens of non-judgment. I put on a lens of wanting to learn. I put on the lens of seeking to understand instead of wanting to be understood. We're so religious. Oh, as T.G. Jakes would say, there's such religiosity. Not a word, y'all. That's not a word. There's such religious. We're so religious about certain things. And I often find, not always, people who scream and holler about, oh, this is not of God. They're the ones hiding secrets themselves. So learn how to listen with an open ear and an open heart. If it's not your lifestyle, it's not your lifestyle. But this Dr. John Taylor was amazing. His phone number is 215-432-7383. You can find him at drjohngtaylor.com and johngtaylor06@gmail.com is his email. Think it through, y'all. Ask questions when you're in your relationship. Find ways to have the dialogue. Without being nasty about it. If you're finding that things are not working out in the bedroom, wait until everything is settled and clear and you're just sitting by yourselves doing something different and say, can we talk about blah, 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 right? Women, if your man is going to the urologist, encourage him to go to the urologist. If you see something is off, not just sexually, but with his urine stream, something, go with him and encourage him to go, and go with him in a non-judgmental way. Don't say simple things, right? My husband belongs to a club of men who had prostate cancer, and it's just heartbreaking for him to hear that women go, well, what am I going to do with you if you can't have sex? Why are we so inconsiderate? And then as we go through menopause, we want them to be considerate of us, right? So there's a lot going on here that we need to discuss, and we're old enough now. This is not about us going, oh my God, we can't talk about that in public. Oh my God. Right? This man is here. He's got a lot of folks on his roster. He does in person and online. Let's have the discussion with him. And I have a lot of men who are looking for a Black male therapist. And so he's going to be, woo. Lord have mercy. Laverne says, there are many reasons not valid in my opinion, but people cut their children off. There are lots of parents like that. Forever and a day. Yes, Andrea says, when you have your live taping in front of a studio audience, he should be part of the panel. Face turquoise color. So I love you, Andrea Robert Manley. You are too funny. You are too funny. It's just a lot, right? Laverne says, was talking about Jehovah Witness. They will cut their children right off. Well, there we go. Laverne says, our 15th anniversary is tomorrow. We're going to celebrate date night. We talk and reflect. So I'll tell you one of the things that my husband and I do. We every so often go, I do it. I said, is our marriage healthy? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you need? And we'll go on dates. We'll go on random dates, or we'll just get in the car and drive. Wherever we land, we get a hotel. But we take that driving and just to talk through. You know, yesterday I was so grateful for him just being here. He left and went away for a couple of days to do some work with the Navy. And robots, and I missed him so terribly. And so yesterday I just randomly texted him and said, God knows, I absolutely love you. It doesn't have to mean that they give you something or, you know, did something great for you. I just literally texted him and said, I truly, truly love you. And he was in Home Depot trying to find some other stuff for me. So, you know, for me to continue painting, because I'm painting right now. And instead of fussing with me and saying, wow, you want to do that, blah, blah, he understands that physical labor works for me. Washing my car, painting the fence, painting the door. Those are the kinds of things, playing in the garden, all of those things, you know, work. So I'm really, truly grateful for that. For those of you on Instagram, I'm getting ready to walk away now so that I can post this. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good one. All right, the rest of you stay there. The rest of you stay there. My Instagram page only allows me, my business page only allows me to do 1 hour. So just absolutely great. Good morning, Sharon Manker and Tria Jones and Teresa Bonner. Did you hear what this man was talking about? Marguerite says, women's meanness regarding sex, I believe, stems from their own brokenness. I absolutely agree. Because I've said to you all, there are many ways to have intercourse, truly. Many, many ways. But you have to have a connection with your partner. And if you don't have a connection with your partner, then all you think about is, oh my God, insert. Let's do. The majority of your relationship is not around being in the bedroom, y'all. And the feeling of love comes from how you treat your partner, what you do with your partner outside of the bedroom. If you're being a total jerk outside of the bedroom, don't expect anything inside of it, particularly with women. We're just not there. You can't just treat us any old kind of way and then say, all right, moving right along. That was really good. Tomorrow, we have the Mornings with Marva, the Love Is segment, and I have a guest who's going to be, it's a widower, and wants to talk about what that life was like and how dating now, what dating looks like for her. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I got to go to the gym. Audra's not trying to hear. I was tired and I was painting all day. She's not trying to hear that. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, darlings. Bye-bye.